Oh?
I suppose we should reconvene the trial of Solomon Starbuck or something.
Objection!
Your Honor, could you please come out from under your bench? There are no more bombs, I promise.
Oh, yes, my apologies. I'm still a little jumpy when it comes to trials involving bombs. I mean, first the courtroom exploded, and then Mr. Tony self-destructed.
I guess that's one way of describing what happened to Tony.
Anyway, it seems that Mr. Justice was seriously wounded by Tonic's actions. So, you, Mr. Wright, will be taking up the defense. Do you have any understanding?
Any understanding?
Do you have an understanding of what has happened in the trial thus far?
So far, I keep putting words that don't even belong. Yes, Your Honor, the defense is ready.
Very well. Is the prosecution also ready? Hmm? I take it you'd like me to give the opening statement this time.
Looks like the judge has become a pretty good mind reader.
Well, he's certainly seen more than his fair share of colourful prosecutors. You could say he's something of a veteran of sorts.
Let's see, in the previous part of this trial, we learned that the victim, Clay Terran, escaped from Launchpad 1 carrying the defendant, Solomon Starbuck. There were explosions on the second floor of the Space Center and on the rocket itself. The two astronauts used the Launchpad 1 corridor to reach the boarding lounge. And how could the victim climb down the ladder if he was carrying the defendant? That was the mystery that needed to be solved. But Mr. Justice proved that the victim was killed in the boarding lounge. Prosecutor Blackwell, were you able to discover any new facts related to this point?
Upon further investigation, we discovered an oxygen tank fragment in a lounge. Surprisingly, it would appear that Justice Dono's argument was correct.
So that means the testimonies of the first two people in the scene are suspect.
There are two people who claim to be the first on the scene, but can we truly trust their statements?
Let's see. The two people were Detective Candace Arm and Yuri Cosmos, right? You think that one of them might have given a false statement to the police?
Yes, it's certainly possible. We might have to do a little more digging. Just as our team was about to cross-examine Detective Arm, the courtroom bombing incident occurred, and the trial was put on hold.
That accursed fellow. He killed my witness. He killed Detective Arm.
He definitely put the kibosh on anybody asking her about what she saw.
Exactly. In other words, the question of who killed the victim in the boarding lounge has once again become the main focus of this trial.
It's obvious Prosecutor Blackwell still thinks it was Mr. Starbuck. Fulbright said that Blackwell has a thing against the astronaut. Nevertheless, the defense argues that there was a third party in... What the hell, I'll keep adding words. There was a third person in the lounge, and that's who killed the victim.
Objection!
Objection!
To make such reckless claims in the courtroom takes a bold man, or a stupid one. There were no third person in the boarding lounge. Or have you gone dotty already, old man?
Objection!
We'll see who's the dotard after I trounce you with my years of experience, little boy. In any case, Mr. Starbuck claims he saw someone leaving the lounge. Furthermore, a Space Center employee also saw a suspicious figure at the scene.
They saw a third person? I see my sister has been running her mouth.
That's right, I almost forgot that Aura is Prosecutor Blackwell's sister.
No matter, she didn't see the mystery person's face clearly. Therefore, there is no evidence to indicate that this person was not the defendant.
I guess the possibility that the figure was Mr. Starbuck is still there.
In brief, we need to determine if a third person was there or not. To this end, we should hear the testimony of one of the first people on the scene.
Director Cosmos, huh?
Very well. Bailiff, please bring the witness to the stand.
Old man voice.
Why, I believe I've seen you before in the newspapers. Of course you have, for I am Yuri Cosmos, director of the Cosmos Space Center, which was of course named after me, Yuri Cosmos. Don't you have anything you wish to ask me?
Looks like he's all geared up to do some bragging.
7 years ago, I successfully launched the Hat One and...
Everyone already knows how brilliant you are. Even I am trying to hold back my tears at seeing such a great man standing before me. So could you please proceed directly to your important testimony?
Ha ha ha! I see this fine young lad has a proper appreciation of greatness. Then allow me to begin my
What the fuck does that say?
epochal testimony that will be recorded in...
Annals? I'm not going to say what... If... Never mind. The annals of history.
That speech of Prosecutor Blackwell's just now sounded more to me like he was poking fun at Director Cosmos.
It's probably for the best that it sailed right over the director's head.
Now then, Director Cosmos, the condensed version of your illustrious testimony, please. Detective Arm and I rushed towards the boarding lounge together. We went via the control room and peeked in from there to see what was going on inside. We saw a figure standing in the middle of the lounge and Karen lying on the floor. I hate to say it, but I can only imagine the standing figure must have been Starbuck. I see. So in your testimony you claim you arrived on the scene after the two had escaped from the launch pad to the lounge, and just after the victim had been killed. Oh, the horror, the humanity. But what I said is what I saw. What I saw is what I said. Courageous action to take in the face of such terrifying exposures, wouldn't you say? To save my men, I went personally into the epicenter of danger, risking my own life for theirs. Ha 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 ha!
Well, what do you know? It sounds like the director really cares about his men.
Yeah, although it sounds more like he was just scared and had just a peek from far away.
Is the defense ready to cross-examine the witness?
Yes, Your Honor. Director Cosmos' testimony is pretty vague. I'm going to have to press him and draw out more information before I do anything else. Thanks for the hint, game. Okay. I'll just press that. Where were you coming from?
6th floor. We were making sure any stragglers made their way to 4th floor. So then we heard about Starbuck and Karen and hurried to the 3rd floor lounge. On my galactic scooter here, of course.
Why do you keep calling it galactic? Does it have something to do with space?
Of course, it's especially designed to be used on galactic battleships.
I see. Then I take it works in 0G too?
Sadly, no. With the current state of technology as it is, I'm afraid it can just float about and be galactically useless.
Well, that's a galactic bummer.
I see. So you rushed to the boarding lounge on your space-age pogo stick. And when you got to the scene, what did you see?
The judge must be pretty old because he looks exactly like I don't know. He looked old when Phoenix was started, and that was like eight-ish years ago. Anyway, we went by the control room. Okay. Let's see. According to the diagram, you didn't have to go through the control room to get to the boarding lounge one. It looks like you could have gone there from the southern corridor as well.
Yes, but in her haste, Detective Arm rushed ahead of me towards the control room. All I could do was merely follow behind her.
I see.
So we peeked into the boarding lounge with the control room door, and we saw a figure standing there and rather
Hold it!
So you couldn't see who that figure was clearly or what they were doing?
Sadly, the only thing I could tell was that it was a person, standing motionless.
The defendant no doubt staring aghast at his deed. What other explanation is there? So close, but without evidence I can't prove that person's the third party.
I don't relish this, and I hate to say it, but I can only imagine the standing figure must have been Starbuck.
Hold it!
Why? Aura Blackwell also saw a suspicious figure in the lounge. but she gave the statement that it was too dark to see the person's face clearly. Did you see the figure's face clearly?
No, not clearly. But the lighthouse they were holding illuminated the area around their feet at the time. But other than that, I could see little else. That's why I could see Terran, but I couldn't see who the other person was.
So for all you know, it might not have been Mr. Starbuck, isn't that correct?
I would like to believe that. Starbuck isn't the type of man who's capable of murder.
Objection!
When the witness entered the boarding lounge, there were no third person there. Isn't that correct, Great Space Center Director?
Yes, that's right. Only Starbuck and Terran were there by that time. After we peeked in, the lounge suddenly went dark and the figure vanished.
You mean they disappeared? That's sad.
Objection!
The reason the figure appeared to vanish is because it was the defendant. When the witnesses weren't looking, he fell to the floor and feigned unconsciousness. Hold on. Director Cosmos, did you ever take your eyes off the scene?
Just for a brief instant, about as long as it takes for a shooting star to go by.
If you took your eyes off the scene, then this third person could have escaped during that time.
But
Oh god, excuse me.
what escape route could this person have used?
The direction opposite the control room, southern door to the elevators. There's no security lock on that door, so it would have been impossible to escape that way.
Objection!
All things are possible, right, Dono? With possibilities, we can each profess whatever we'd like. An inmate who used to be a university professor and lunar researcher used to say that there is a kingdom of little green men who live under the surface of the moon. As long as they don't punish us in the name of said moon for what we've done to it. But I say, where's your proof that this quaint kingdom exists?
He's calling a theory a work of fiction, boss.
And he's right, I don't have any proof yet. Still. Southern door was a possible escape route. Better make a mental note of that. Director Cosmos, may I ask you a question?
Yes?
I don't know why that sounded funny to me, but I just said yes like that, sorry. It didn't come out how I wanted it to come out.
Yes? How may I help you?
Why did you look away from the boarding lounge?
Ha ha ha! There's actually another tale right from behind the answer to that. It was when Detective Arms saw the figure and raised her gun. Being a great humanitarian and protector of mankind, I tried to stop her.
What? You're saying Detective Arm raised her gun as soon as she saw the figure?
I imagine her instincts as the detective told her they were the killer.
I don't know about that. Were you able to prevent Detective Arm from firing her gun?
I'm afraid I was too late. I was unable to stop her. She identified herself clearly and looked at the shadowy figure. This information about Detective Arm's actions sounds critically important. Please add it to your testimony.
Detective Arm fired 2 warning shots. Did she though?
Objection!
You fucking lying. Are you sure you were really paying attention to what Detective Arm was doing?
You doubt my words? Words that will someday be written down in history books?
Somehow I don't think that those exact words will ever be written down in any history books.
Mr. Wright, could you please explain yourself so that we can all understand?
You say that Detective Arm fired 2 warning shots, and yet only 1 bullet hole was ever found at the scene.
What?
Only 1 bullet hole means the gun was only fired once, and yet Director Cosmos is saying Detective Arm fired 2 shots. No editor would allow such a glaring contradiction into a history book.
Objection!
Unfortunately for you, the witness's words are true. We confirmed that 2 shots were fired from Detective Arm's gun.
Objection!
But there was only 1 bullet hole at the scene. Where did the other bullet vanish to? Ah! You should know the answer to that already. I should? During the previous trial, a certain oxygen tank was presented as evidence. We've already discussed that it was ruptured in the lounge, have we not? Well, it appears that the thing that ruptured it was a bullet. A bullet that was found near the tank, to be precise. This bullet was fired from a .38 caliber gun, the same caliber as the detective's gun. What? But ain't the bullet that we found a different caliber? Hang on. .10. The rifling marks also match up. There's no question that the bullet was fired from Detective Arm's gun.
Rifling marks. They're like a gun's fingerprints on a bullet, correct? And examining the rifling marks on a bullet can tell us the gun it was fired from.
One of the bullets that the detective fired found its way into the holographic image display. The other bullet came to a stop near the victim's oxygen tank. The evidence confirms the director's statement that the detective fired 2 shots. My beautiful contradiction, gone. All gone.
So that bullet hole was from a .38 caliber, huh? I'd better update the record.
Very good. Now we know the fate of both of the shots Detective Arm fired. Mr. Wright, does that clear up all of your questions?
Detective Arm fired 2 warning shots. One hit the holographic display and the other hit the oxygen tank. Does that really clear up everything about what happened at the scene? No. No, Your Honor, it doesn't. Detective Arm fired 2 warning shots from a .38 caliber gun. But that doesn't explain the existence of a certain piece of evidence found at the scene. A piece that points to the existence of a third person.
Oh? Very well, but it won't do to keep us waiting. Mr. Wright, what piece of evidence suggests the possibility of a third person at the scene?
Take that!
This bullet.
And what is this metal pellet supposed to be?
Just a little something of great importance we found at the crime scene, Your Honor.
You found it where?
In a floor gutter at the crime scene. It looks like the police and prosecution both missed it. Furthermore, this is a .10 caliber bullet, making it much smaller than one of the detectives.
Then that means...
Exactly, one more person must have been there in the lounge. A third person who had a gun that could fire 10 caliber bullets. .10. And if that's true, it explains why Detective Arm fired warning shots. Oh, I missed the little sound he made. This third person fired at Detective Arm and Director Cosmos with their gun. And in return, the detective fired her warning shots. Isn't that how it really went down, Director Cosmos?
Seems like we deduced my miraculous tale of survival. Yes, you're absolutely correct. The mystery person fired upon us. What's this now?
I forgot he said that, sorry.
What? Never breathed a word of any of this to me before. Well, all great men have a secret or two, don't you know?
Foolish old geezer. So Director Cosmos really has been hiding the presence of the third person all along. Director Cosmos, I want you to testify to the court about what you really saw.
You may be a very great man, but in my courtroom you're just another witness. You won't receive special treatment here. Now please give accurate testimony. Detective Arm and I rushed to the court control room.
Why am I saying court?
Control room together. In the lounge, we saw a figure standing in the middle of the room and tearing on the floor. We were still in the control room to the east when the figure fired at us. Given that there was no third person in the lounge when the witness entered it, does this mean the person who fired the gun had to have been the defendant?
No, he's innocent. Not necessarily. It's still possible that it was someone else. Most likely, as soon as Detective Arm and Director Cosmos discovered this person, they escaped through the southern door, the one that didn't have a security lock.
Objection!
Double H the one, and it's you who gets cut down. Huh? Your reasoning could apply if Space Boy were the killer as well. Think about it. After being discovered, he could have fired the .10 caliber gun. Detective Arm would have responded by firing 2 warning shots. All he had to do was feign unconsciousness to invent the possibility of a third case.
Objection!
But Mr. Starbuck didn't have a gun in his possession when he was found by the police, nor had a gun been found at the crime scene. Its absence can only be explained if there was a third party who took it with them.
Objection!
Recall the existence of a trash chute in the boarding lounge. The defendant could have simply thrown the gun down there,
Objection!
down the chute. But you can't deny the possibility of a third person leaving with the weapon.
Objection!
It's up to you to prove that possibility, and I trust you haven't forgotten my little piece of decisive evidence. What evidence? Why, the detonator switch that was found in Mr. Starbuck's pocket, naturally. The most compelling evidence of all that tells us he is the culprit. Ah! I did forget all about that! Look, your baldness, how deliciously obvious it is that they lack the evidence to rival mine.
Wow, he sliced our third person theory to ribbons and served it to us just like that.
Yes, well, I have a question of my own, actually. That bullet that the mysterious figure shot, what did it hit exactly? It hit me. Does that mean you're a ghost?
I was wondering when you would realise it, your baldness. Director Cosmos is an authentic, bona fide ghost. He can even pass through walls.
Eek!
Objection!
Prosecutor Blackwell, shame on you for teasing the nice old gentleman.
Your baldness, it was all in jest. Please show yourself again.
Are you sure? In that case, how did you manage to survive being shot, Director Cosmos? Ha ha ha. I'm glad you asked. It was a miracle befitting a great history-making figure such as myself. The bullet hit my glorious Medal of Honor, where it ricocheted, just saving my life. What?
That's unbelievable.
I'll have to check this out. Oh wow, look at that! There's one extra galaxy star.
The odds are literally astronomical. I guess it really was a miracle.
It's beginning to really feel like the Cosmos is watching out for Director Cosmos.
But why did you conceal this
Investigation. Why did he conceal the investigation?
Why did you conceal this information, Director Cosmos? A great man such as myself has to hide things on occasion, no matter how much it hurts. It is the plight of the truly great. It may be hard for this generation to understand.
I don't know, but it sounds fishy to me. What else is he hiding?
Let's just cross-examine him and see what we can find out.
Now then, Mr. Wright, your cross-examination, please.
Hold it!
So in other words, you will find out while you were at the control room door.
That's correct.
Something not quite right about that. Director Cosmos, the bullet this person who fired hit you, isn't that right?
Yes, it was a miracle. Miracle befitting a great history-making figure such as myself. Bullet that figure fired hit me while I was in the control room. But as the Cosmos would have it, the bullet bounced off my glorious Medal of Honor.
In that case, the bullet should have wound up somewhere around the control room door.
Okay,
Shit, my voice broke.
okay, so Director Cosmos was in the control room to the east.
And while he was there, he was shot at by someone with a .10 caliber gun.
But the bullet hit his medal, so he was able to escape with his life. He's a very lucky man. No wonder people think he's great.
Hey, I'm pretty lucky myself, so if he's a great man, then I'm the king of all the cosmos. So where was the bullet found again? runs along the south wall of the boarding lounge. Where's the... So how the hell was it? Okay, that's fishy.
Objection!
Director Cosmos, I believe you are telling this great court a glorious lie.
A great man like me tell a lie? Have you ever heard such a thing in all of history?
Yes. My accusation is based on the positions of the people who were in the lounge. According to your testimony, you and Detective Arm were near the control room door, and the mystery figure was standing in the middle of the boarding lounge. If, as you say, the figure fired a gun at you from this position, then the bullet would have travelled in this direction. However, we found the .10 caliber bullet here.
Oh.
This trajectory and where the bullet was actually found contradict each other. Director Cosmos, where were you really when you were being shot at? Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the human merry-go-round.
Objection!
Don't tell me you've forgotten already. Didn't the witness himself just tell you? The bullet hit his metal. Of this, there is no mistake.
Objection!
Okay. But in that case, the bullet should have been found near the east side of the room. Are you trying to say that you can explain this inconsistency?
Of course.
I didn't think so. What?
Oh, great Director Cosmos. Yes? Is there something you'd like to ask me to expound upon?
You were in fact not in the control room to the east, were you? You were looking into the lounge from the door to the south, is that not right? What are you getting at? Use your own brain. Your head must have some other use than housing that bird's nest. Bird's nest? Why does everyone pick on my hair?
Director Cosmos and the detective witnessed the scene from the southern door. The killer fired at them there, and that is why the bullet was found in the south.
Oh, that makes some sense actually.
Also, the witness being at the southern door is rather favourable for the prosecution.
Huh? I've got a bad feeling about this.
How about it, Director, if you don't tell me the truth this time?
Oh.
Right, his handcuffs!
You may come up but rust upon my sword. I relish the chance to cut down a great man.
All right, I'll tell the truth. Just push your sword away. You are correct. I, the great Yuri Cosmos, was looking into the room from the southern door.
What? It's the complete opposite of all the testimony he's given so far. And now you've lost your possibility that a third person was in the room. I have? How? The director and the detective were near the southern door, meaning the killer couldn't have escaped through there. The western door required fingerprint recognition. The corridor beyond was filled with smoke. The only escape route left was the eastern control room door, and the only way to get through there was with Director Cosmos' fingerprint. Ah! In short, there would be no escape through any third person had there been one. Ah! My third person just disappeared. Like in one of those Trucy's magic tricks. One of those Trucy's magic tricks. Why did I say that?
Order in the court! Great Cosmos, why did you tell such an outrageous lie?
You were covering for the defendant, isn't that right?
Yes, it was all for the love of my men. If I said I was in the eastern control room, it would mean the culprit could have escaped through the southern door. It would have meant that there could have been a third person. All I wanted to do was protect Starbuck. I said I was in the control room to invent an escape route for the third person.
What a convoluted lie. Was he really covering for the defendant?
It looks like we've come to a conclusion. That the defence's argument, the possibility of a third person, has crumbled.
No! It's over. Yikes, the judge is about to hand down his verdict. Think, Phoenix, think. This is the perfect time to try and turn my thinking around. The third person had no way of escaping the scene. And what if one of the people at the scene was this third person? Wait, what if the whole premise is all wrong? It usually is. Director Cosmo said that he and Detective Arm rushed to the scene together. But what if that premise isn't true? What if one of them reached the scene before the other one? And if that person entered the lounge, then they would be the third person.
The defendant is the only person who could have killed the victim and shot at the director. There doesn't appear to be any room for argument against these claims. I will now render my verdict.
Objection!
Please wait, Your Honor. There is still one possibility.
Oh, this had better be good, Mr. Wright.
There is one and only one person who could have escaped from the scene. And that person would be the first person who arrived on the scene. Then, upon entering the boarding lounge, the second person to arrive came by the southern door. That's why the first person fled from the room, using an escape route that was accessible only to them.
Very well, let's hear more about this theory. Who is this one person who could have escaped from the boarding lounge? It was you!
Take that!
What? But that's... Mr. Wright, what are you claiming here?
Of all people who were at the scene, only the witness could have escaped. The director is the only one with the authority to open the control room door, after all.
But that means...
Exactly. The true identity of the third person is our current witness. Director Yuri Cosmos.
Whoa! What?
What?
Order in the court, I say. Mr. Wright, you explain yourself in more detail.
I assert that Director Cosmos arrived at the scene before Detective Arm and entered the boarding lounge alone. Detective Arm arrived after that and saw a suspicious figure who was actually Director Cosmos standing in the lounge. And that's why she fired those 2 warning shots.
I've been hit on the starboard side.
Captain Wright, it's a direct hit on the enemy ship, sir. A magnificent shot.
Warning shots fired from the enemy ship. Prepare to intercept. Cosmos, you have told a lie in this court once again. I've been hit on the port side. The enemy is called in reinforcement.
Earth to Cosmos Control Center, requesting permission to ask when you return to reality.
My ship will not go down to anything less than the ultimate weapon of evidence.
Objection!
But I do have evidence. In fact, you could say that your battleship bears its scar.
Ugh.
If Director Cosmos is the third person Aura Blackwell saw, this third person fired at Detective Arm and Director Cosmos with their gun. And in return, the detective fired her warning shots. Isn't that how it really went down, Director Cosmos?
Ha ha ha! It looks like it is my miraculous tale of survival. Yes, you're absolutely correct. The mystery person fired upon us.
Director Cosmos must have been the one who fired the .10 caliber gun. When Detective Arm discovered him in the lounge, it only makes sense that he would have turned and shot at her. Therefore, the evidence on the director's body is of a different kind of relevance than before. Once we compare it against another piece of evidence, the mark that you received from the third party will be all the proof we need. Proof that you were the one there in the lounge.
Brace for further impact.
Comparison against this piece of evidence will prove that you were the one in the lounge. This.
Take that!
The .38 caliber bullet found on the floor at the scene didn't hit the oxygen tank. It hit Director Cosmos' medal. If we had that ricochet mark on the medal analysed, I'm sure the caliber will match up. And if that mark proves to be from a .38 caliber bullet, it will prove that you are the third person we've been looking for.
Whoa! That bridge is destroyed, losing altitude. All hands abandon ship. That's true, then what about the bullets that hit the oxygen tank?
It was the .10 caliber bullet. In other words, it was the bullet fired by Yuri Cosmos. Isn't that right, Director?
No! You've got it all wrong! What? The engines have started again. It's a miracle I'm not going down yet. Witness, stop this at once and confess the truth.
You don't want the history books to say that a great man was a great liar.
Then accept your fate and tell the truth.
Are you giving me orders? Me, the great director of the Cosmos Space Center? Ah, but the cosmos revolves around me! Someone get me off this thing! Order! Order in the court! And will someone please stop the witness from spinning? Phew! Thank goodness we were able to stop him from spinning off the face of the earth.
While he was twirling, I took the liberty of running an analysis on the mark on the medal. It was made by a .38 caliber bullet, matching it with the size of the detective's firearm.
Yeah!
Are you ready to confess the truth, witness?
No, you've got it all wrong. This is just a misunderstanding.
Is he going to start piling on more lies?
Looks like it. No matter how many lies he tells, I'll just expose them one by one. I'll make that big liar tell the truth. To be continued. Okay, we're going to continue it right now. That's a weird place to have us be continued. It hasn't been streaming that long. Back to it.
Director Cosmos, a new possibility has been presented by the defense. They are claiming that you were the third person. Oh, forgive me, I'm so sorry.
So the great pioneer of space development is revealed to be just another fabulous clerk. I only have one question for the likes of you.
Should I send you off quickly or very quickly? Oh!
The evidence doesn't lie, Director Cosmos, so don't try talking your way out of this.
Fine, I'll tell the truth. It's all just as you say, Mr. Wright. It's true that I was there in the boarding lounge. I got there before Detective Arm, and when she arrived, she fired warning shots at me. I was afraid people would have mistaken me for the killer, so I escaped to the control room. I then went past the elevators and all the way back to the boarding lounge once again. I came up behind Detective Arm and pretended to be the second on the scene.
What a troublesome old man you are, with such convoluted deeds and thoughts.
I see. So then, are you still insisting that you did not kill the victim? Of course I am. When I arrived at the lounge alone, I saw the true killer. Great Yuri Cosmos was a history-making witness.
Hold it!
Now hold on just one moment. We just proved a few minutes ago that the third person that Mr. Starbuck and Miss Aura Blackwell saw was you.
No, it wasn't me. I saw the person as well. If I was the killer, why would I lie to cover up for Starbuck? I would just leave him to take the fall.
That is an excellent point.
All I want to do is protect Starbuck. I said I was in the control room to invent an escape route for the third person.
Well, it makes some sense if he told those lies to cover for Mr. Starbuck.
Still, a lie's a lie, Athena.
So Director Cosmos claims he's not the culprit, but where's the proof?
Oh, I just remembered. I have an alibi. Miss Blackwell said that she saw the killer at 10 a.m., correct?
Yes, and?
Well, I was on the 4th floor helping with the evacuation effort. Ask any member of the staff you'd like. They'll corroborate me.
The director is not fibbing to the court for once. I confirm that he has an alibi for the time specified. So you're claiming that Miss Blackwell saw the killers commit the crime first at 10 a.m. and that you arrived at the lounge after that?
Yes, I believe the person I saw is the same person that Miss Blackwell saw. Although it was pitch black, so it was more of a shadowy figure and less of a person. And I couldn't actually see their face, but it was definitely the silhouette of a nerve filling.
As long as he has an alibi, I can't very much claim Director Cosmos was the killer.
No, we can't. Then again, maybe we don't need to yet. I wonder if he really was covering for Mr. Starbuck.
Very well. Director Cosmos, your testimony, please. As I tried into the lounge, the two killers inside fired a gun at me. I hid to avoid getting shot. But when I tried to get another look, they had vanished to thin air. I was near the elevator side door and, well, the launch pad one door. And the control room doors had been shut tight to the killer.
So you were shot by the killer as well, and then they disappeared?
Yes, though luckily, no. Unfortunately, the bullet hit Terran's oxygen tank. I know because I heard a pang. There must have been a sound of the tank being ruptured.
Wait, but I thought the bullet hit his medal.
That was Detective Arm's bullet, remember?
Right, what a mess this is turning into. So let's see. Director Cosmos is claiming that when he found Mr. Terran and his killer, the culprit shot a .10 caliber bullet at him.
Right, but it actually hit Mr. Terran's oxygen tank and ruptured it.
And then the killer disappeared, and the director went into the boarding lounge. When Detective Arm caught up and fired those warning shots at him. Judging by his medal, it looks like one of them almost took him out too.
Good summary, but that doesn't explain where our mystery killer went. Director Cosmos, I was wondering if you could elaborate on when the figure disappeared.
I'm ashamed to admit it. I tried to hide myself when I was shot at, but when I peeked back into the lounge, the real killer was gone. I rushed into the lounge straight away to investigate. What I found was Terran with a knife in his chest and Starbuck cold on the floor. So we have a culprit who vanished from the scene that has no escape route. Vanished without a trace. It's truly like one of the great mysteries of the cosmos.
Silence!
A riddle of the ages indeed. But I'd rather know how a fibbing leech such as you can be lauded as great.
A great man always misunderstood it in his own time. But he must remain true to himself even if those around him don't understand.
Wow, that might be the first true statement he said all day. But how do you suppose this person managed to vanish so suddenly?
Simple, because it was Spaceboy himself. When he was spotted by the director and Aura, he quickly feigned unconsciousness. That would certainly take all the mystery out of the idea of a vanishing culprit.
I want to raise an objection, but I don't have any counter-evidence. Director Cosmos, when you saw this person, did you also see Mr. Starbuck on the floor?
No, because it was dark as a black hole in there. I didn't see Starbuck until the other person vanished when I entered the room.
That wasn't exactly helpful.
I'm prepared to accept your surrender, right, Dono?
I can't find any holes in this testimony, but I can't give up.
Mr. Wright, why don't you let me help?
Huh?
While the director was giving his testimony, I detected a cacophony of discord.
Which means he's hiding his true feelings from us, huh? It just might help us find out what happened to our vanished killer. That'd be great, Athena. Let's see what you can do with him.
You got it, boss. I wouldn't want to miss this chance to delve into a great mind. Yuri Cosmos, prepare to hand over the secrets of your heart to me.
As I tried to enter the lounge, true killer inside fired a gun at me. I hid to avoid getting shot. But when I tried to get another look, they had vanished into thin air. I was near the elevator side door. And well, the launch pad one door and the control room door should have been shut tight to the killer.
I'm really upset about the Launchpad 1.
Got it!
Why are you sad? Correct me if I'm wrong, but you seem to be afraid of the Launchpad door.
The great Yuri Cosmos? Afraid? On what basis do you have for such an outlandish accusation?
Whether I have any basis or not, you seem quite distressed by it.
I'm no certainly not.
Yes, you are! Director Cosmos, there's something about the launchpad door you're not telling us, isn't there?
Ugh. Ah!
Wow, he's speechless. It looks like you hit the nail on the head, boss. It's working, boss. One more punch and it'll be a knockout. There seems to be one more emotion that's at odds with his testimony. Go get him.
Okay, back in the Matrix it is. Time to pinpoint our way to victory. I was wondering why he's not surprised that the killer was gone.
Got it!
He must have thought it was very strange that the killer vanished into thin air.
I did. That kind of thing just doesn't happen usually.
And yet at the time, you barely registered any shock at the occurrence.
What? Why are you... Ugh.
I can only think of one reason as to why you weren't surprised by the killer's vanishing act. You must have had a good idea of where they went, isn't that right?
What? No, of course not. That's preposterous. Only I can enter the control room. And now, great. And the area beyond the launchpad door was filled with smoke, making it impossible. And as for the southern door, well, I was standing right there. So there was nowhere for the killer to run to.
Maybe or maybe not. You went into the room to check on Mr. Starbuck and Mr. Terran, yes? What if the culprit took that opportunity to silently slip out through the southern door?
I highly doubt it, as you recall right after I entered the lounge. Detective Vaughn came rushing towards it herself via the southern hallway. Anyone trying to escape through the air would have been caught by her.
And yet the director wasn't surprised the killer vanished. You're absolutely sure there was no escape route for the culprit to use?
I'll just input those 2 pieces of data in. Yes, just what I wanted to see. Presto Changer! Less Discord. It looks like we're on the right track.
Thanks, Athena. Now to make sense of what we learned. Director Cosmos wasn't surprised that the culprit suddenly vanished from the lounge, which points to the possibility that he knew where the killer had escaped to. Furthermore, talking about the door to the launchpad makes him uneasy. In other words, he's probably hiding something about the launchpad 1 door. When we put these 2 pieces together, only one solution to this puzzle comes to mind. Director Cosmos, did the real killer escape through here?
Take that!
The culprit went through the launchpad 1 corridor to escape, didn't they?
Yes, I mean no. Disaster to starboard. We're going to crash into an asteroid.
A master tactician you were not.
But the area beyond the store was filled with smoke, wasn't it?
True, but this is still the only logical answer there is. We can just figure out what the director is hiding about the launchpad 1 door. We should be able to iron out the logical inconsistencies.
Ugh. But control requires fingerprint recognition. Only Starbuck, Terran and I have access. I don't see how the killer could have opened that security lock, do you?
There is a way he could have easily gotten past that security lock. Come to think of it, we did examine the prints on the fingerprint recognition device. I propose that the killer used this person's fingerprints to get past the security lock.
Take that!
Starbucks?
That's...
Mr. Starbuck was lying unconscious there in the boarding lounge. Anybody could have easily gotten past the security lock by using Mr. Starbuck's prints. And actually, Mr. Starbuck's prints are exactly what we found on the device's screen.
Ugh.
It looks like he does have something to do with hide about the Launchpad 1 door. And I'm betting it's got something to do with the culprit's escape route. But I don't have enough information to paint the whole picture yet. See the whole picture.
You know, something just occurred to me. Would you like to hear it?
Huh? Oh, yes, by all means.
There's a security camera in boarding lounge 1.
Right, the one that recorded the victim and the defendant. What about it, Your Honour?
If the true culprit escaped it from the Launchpad 1 corridor, then that might be recorded on the security footage as well. And the mystery would be solved. What do you think of my logic?
Poor judge. He tried his best, don't be mean to him.
I hope you didn't strain your faculties too much for that, Your Boldness. I beg your pardon? Look, if we play the security footage beyond this point... Oh my! The footage cuts off!
The camera was running on backup power, but apparently the power cables were damaged, most likely by the after effects of the explosion. There is no footage after this, be it of criminals or space aliens.
And I thought it was such a good idea too.
Just because your grandchild is watching from the gallery, it doesn't mean you should try to show off too much. Grandpa Baldness.
Prosecutor Blackwell, how did you know about my grandchild?
I think his grandchild just learned a little about the harshness of the adult world.
Setting aside the issue of grandchildren, I'd like to have the witness continue. Director Cosmos, could you tell us more about when you entered the lounge?
If I must.
To avoid getting shot, after the killer vanished, I went to the lounge. So that's when Detective Alm appeared from the elevator side door. And then the detective shot at me. So you see, the killer could have only escaped to the launch pad, right? I hate to avoid getting shot. I feel like he should be more surprised. Okay, thank God. I thought that was wrong for a second. Director Cosmos, why were you so surprised when Detective Arm found you, and again when she fired? Isn't that a bit unnatural?
Sadly, even great men such as myself have ordinary human feelings. Our bodies are bound by the forces of gravity and emotions. Even a great man such as myself experiences surprise on occasion.
Yes, I'm sure you do. But my real point is not the fact that you were surprised, but rather that what you were surprised by.
Pardon me?
First, you were surprised when Detective Arm found you in the lounge. And just after that, you were, of course, again surprised when she shot at you. But considering what you were surprised about, a strange phenomenon occurs here. Director Cosmos, what is strange about your surprise reaction is the fact that you were more surprised about when Arm came. Sure, you were surprised when Detective Arm shot at you, but the surprise you felt when she found you in the lounge was much greater.
Oh!
The fact that you were more surprised by simply being found than being shot at suggests to me that you were conflicted about whatever it was you were doing there.
The enemy has acquired a new weapon. Commence Operation Hide Under Your Desk. Ah!
Please tell me I finally sunk his battleship. No.
Boss, I'm getting less Discord now. That must mean he really is hiding something about that launchpad door.
Whatever he's hiding most likely has something to do with this killer's escape.
I wonder what it could be.
If he was doing something suspicious around that door, maybe we can spot some change between before he came to the room and after.
Detective Fulbright gave us a photo taken after the crime. Let's run a comparison. Let's see. This is the footage of the door before Director Cosmos arrived. And this is how the door looked after the director entered the lounge.
Hey, look at that! There is a change! Something's definitely different! Director Cosmos!
Watersuit, what have you been up to over there?
Finding the answer to what you were doing when Detective Arm found you, that's what. And that answer lies clearly in this footage. All we have to do is compare it to the photo that was taken during the investigation.
Don't be ridiculous. If you really do have an answer, you'd have pointed it out already.
He's asking for it. This is what changed directly after the incident. He turned that knob.
Take that!
The answer is this knob.
No! That's...
Your Honor, please take a look at this footage.
Let's see.
Take a look at the knob next to the launchpad door. As you can see, it's horizontal.
Yes, it is, isn't it?
However, when we investigated the scene of the crime yesterday, the knob was vertical.
And what does this mean?
It means that sometime between before the director arrived and after, someone turned this knob.
No!
I'm sick of him screaming, it hurts my throat. After the scene was discovered, you were the only one who could have turned the knob. Come on now, Director Cosmos, let's hear what you have to say. What were you trying to do by turning that knob by the door?
Oh, fine, I admit it. You're right, I did turn that knob. That knob is a safety lock meant to keep the launch pad in place. I was afraid there would be more explosions, so I wanted to move the launch pad away.
You wanted to do what? Hey, didn't Ponko tell us something about how they prepare for launch? She said that once the launch pad's fully assembled, it's moved to the launch site. But the safety lock in the boarding lounge has to be disengaged first. I guess that clears up what that knob's for. Oh, so if the killer escaped into the Launchpad 1 corridor, maybe they were transported along with the launchpad to the launch site. I don't think so. The Launchpad 1 corridor was filled with smoke. I don't think they could have escaped through that corridor. So then when did the killer escape to? Where? I guess there are still some things we have to uncover. Director Cosmos, I request that you tell us about the moving launchpad in more detail.
Fine, but listen carefully, for I'm about to give history-making testimony. I had no choice but to disengage the safety lock. I feared there might be more explosions, so I had to cut the launchpad loose. Surely the only escape the killer had was through launchpad 1. But that area was a sea of smoke. Confound it, where on earth could they have gone?
What is he doing?
Got it!
I had no choice but to disengage the safety lock. You make it sound like you were reluctant to do so. And yet when you did it, you felt some joy as if you were very pleased with yourself.
Oh! How'd you do it? How'd you know everything as if you were there?
Pretty impressive, isn't it? This is the power of analytical psychology. So care to explain why you felt joy when you disengaged the safety lock? When I think back on the facts we've discovered up to this point, I have to believe that you were trying to fulfill some hidden agenda.
Oh! How do you know about that too?
Because I'm more or less a pro at guessing.
Must you have been proof that I had a hidden agenda? Even if I did, I would never ever tell you, so there.
I know they say people regress as they grow older, but you, sir, take the cake.
And how could you doubt a man with such great intensity, intelligence, and integrity?
Silence!
You, a man of integrity, don't make me laugh. Prosecutor Blackwell, what came over here all of a sudden? You spouted nothing but falsity since you stepped upon this stand. You're not the kind of man that will be glorified in the annals of history. Not for greatness, anyway. Unless you consider greatest barefaced liar in honor.
Liar!
Oh, his words bite harder than his blade. You moved Launchpad 1 after the explosions. My, how naive you are. You fail to realise how even the facts themselves have betrayed you. You know, just a thought, but modern English can be your friend. And here's a thought for you. Immediately following the bombing, Launchpad 1 was on the boarding lounge 1 side. The police confirmed this on scene.
What? Liar!
So that means the director didn't move the launch pad. Curse my judgment for calling history's greatest liar to a witness stand. Let us leave him to indulge in his lies and war games to his heart's content.
Liar!
Action!
But it doesn't make sense. You can't deny that somebody turned the knob. And he's so mad that he's getting called a liar, but you've been lying, so why are you so shocked at that? Some people. Anyway, and once the safety lock was released, I'm sure the pad must have went somewhere. If we chase down the truth of this issue, we just might find where the killer escaped to. Ah! You're sure it must have went somewhere? We just might find out. Your arguments are nothing but conjecture, bluffing and wishful thinking.
Stop chasing your fantasies and see reality for what it really is. Or are you not man enough to, boy? Gah!
Talk about hitting below the belt.
Youngins these days. I don't understand it. I'm sure Director Cosmos must have moved the launch pad. The knob was definitely turned after he came to the lounge. But the launch pad is right where it's supposed to be. Ugh. Wait a minute, maybe I have it all backwards. What if the director turned the knob not to move the launch pad away, but to bring it back to where it was supposed to be? What are you blabbering about? What if the launch pad was at the launch site before the incident? And then after the incident, Director Cosmos moved it back to its usual spot. All we had to do was turn the knob to call the launch pad back. And it would be right where the police found it. Ah!
You made him sound like Mr. Starbuck. Was what I said really that off base?
Pains me to have to explain how wrong your own logic is to you. However, our great liar turned the knob only after he discovered the crime scene. Indeed, the pad existed beyond the lounge when our Astro Wonders made their escape. A fact that has been recorded for posterity on filmless film. Oh, right. So to reiterate, stop chasing your fantasies and see reality for what it really is, boy. Ah!
Get a grip, Mr. Wright, and focus. We know the launch pad must have been moved. But our deductions and the actual facts of the case are in direct contradiction to each other. Well, maybe the two astronauts never actually boarded the rocket. This footage could be fake, taken with body doubles after the incident or something. Yay, it's the best press. Welcome back, Ice. It's been such a long time. It's good to see you. On second thought, that's too far-fetched even for me.
Never actually boarded the rocket. Hey, wait a minute. Maybe, just maybe.
Huh?
Prosecutor Blackwell, what if I told you that the two astronauts... Hello? Never set foot inside the launch pad area, but instead went into another place? And what if, when the director moved launch pad 1 back, it was not from the launch site, but from another place? What would you say then? Cut the existential bull or I'll cuss you.
Mr. Wright, you explain yourself at once.
I know I'm right. It was all the other way around from the beginning. Very well, Your Honour. Let me explain. Director Cosmos' reason for moving Launchpad 1 was... I almost said reaction, I don't know why. It was... I hope they bring him back in the future. I so agree. He's in the next game, so... Only briefly, but you know... I hope they bring him back again. If they make an Ace Attorney 7, I desperately want one. Why? What was the reason for moving Launchpad 1? I just had it and now I've kind of forgot. Hide it to switch it with another pad. Switch it, no. Because he wanted to switch it with some other place.
I'm sorry, but what did you say switch it? What could they possibly have switched the launchpad with?
Oh, you'd be surprised, Your Honour. He's switching it with the museum. All it has to take is a little thinking outside the box, and the answer becomes clear as day. This is what was switched with Launchpad 1. I mean, there's... Why do I have to point this out? Because there's no other thing.
Launchpad 1 was switched with the Space Museum.
In the past, the Space Museum used to be Launchpad 2. It has the same features as Launchpad 1, and can even be moved to the launch site. Meaning the Space Museum and Launchpad 1 can also be switched with each other.
You can't mean...
The rocket the astronauts boarded was not the one in Launchpad 1. It was the one in the Space Museum.
What? Balderdash!
And yet, it's the only explanation that accounts for every riddle and inconsistency. This is how the Space Center was just before the incident.
I've seen Launchpad 1 in the Space Museum have already switched places.
That's right. And with the two switched like this, the astronauts entered the Space Museum from boarding lounge 1. This allowed the true killer to enter Launchpad 1 from boarding lounge 2 and set the bomb on the rocket.
Come to think of it, the door to the Space Museum from boarding lounge 2. Welcome, welcome. The Space Museum is open to the public every day of the year from 9 AM to 7 PM.
Exactly, anyone could pass through the door to the Space Museum. There's no fingerprint recognition system on that door. In other words, with the two launch pads switched like that, someone other than Mr. Starbuck could have easily planted that bomb.
No!
After setting the bomb on the rockets, the culprit snuck into the boarding lounge 1 and waited there concealed, in order to kill Mr. Terran when the two astronauts emerged from the Space Museum. Recall that Miss Blackwell, Mr. Starbuck, and the director all saw a suspicious figure, who we can suppose, after killing Mr. Terran, made their escape into the Space Museum. After that, Director Cosmos switched the two launch pads back, without realizing the killer was inside the Space Museum. The killer then left the Space Museum and made a clean getaway.
No!
Right, Dodo, I see you know how to handle a sword and handle it well. Perhaps I should call you Swordmaster Bluff. I'm a seasoned warrior who has cut down many a prosecutor.
Silence!
But unless you can prove your theory, it's no better than a rusty sword.
That's right, we have no proof I've switched the launch pads.
Somebody needs a better anger management counselor.
The launch pads really were switched, there might be a record of it somewhere.
At this point, Launchpad 1 and the Space Museum were switched with each other.
So the corridor beyond this door should be the one that belongs to the Space Museum. Let's see, this is the image of the Launchpad 1 corridor.
I can't speak.
Do you see anything different when we compare it to the security footage?
Huh? That number on the floor. Well, what do you know? It looks like we have proof after all, Prosecutor Blackwell. And if this is just another bluff... Oh, don't worry, it's all right here. Right in this footage. Proof that beyond this door is a corridor to the Space Museum.
Very well then, answer this for me if you would. What's in this footage proves that the corridor beyond belongs to the Space Museum?
This little tube.
Take that!
There's a 1 on the floor of the Launchpad 1 corridor. Now take a look at the floor on the corridor in the security footage. Do you see the number on the floor behind the astronauts? It doesn't look like a 1, does it? That's because what you see is actually part of a 2.
What?
Why is it a 2 and not a 1? That's because the corridor you see is the one to the Space Museum.
Yeah!
And so that means the corridor in this footage was not filled with smoke.
That's right, because the explosion didn't occur in the Space Museum. The explosion occurred in Launchpad 1, on the side opposite the Space Museum. And now that we know the two astronauts escaped from the Space Museum... I keep saying Space Museum, I'm going to trip up. The mystery from the previous trial of how they got down the ladder is cleared up. Mr. Terran, carrying Mr. Starbuck, simply took the elevator from the upper level down to the middle level.
That's incredible. 2 launch pads were actually switched. But you'd think someone would have noticed an event of this magnitude.
Everyone was down in the basement shelter when the launch pad were swapped back. There's no way anyone could have known what was happening on the surface. My voice is gonna be broken after all this yelling. No more lies, Director Cosmos. It's high time you told us the truth.
Ah! My honor! My glory! Everything is slipping away! Time to deploy my ultimate weapon! Galactic engine, ignition! What? It's gone haywire! Ah! It won't stop! Ah! My stars, my glory! Ah! Ah! No, not that way! Rah! Bailiff, on your steed and after that witness!
Oh my god.
I see we managed to retrieve you before you came to any bodily harm.
Director Cosmos, do you admit you switched the launch pads?
I admit it's true. I switched Launchpad 1 for the Space Museum. Ah, this is good to hear. It's good to hear words I can believe for a change.
Before you do, Your Honor, two things. First, we don't know if Mr. Terran had prior knowledge of the switch. As for Mr. Starbuck, he was unaware of his surroundings thanks to his medication. It'd be funny if they actually had a stable at the courthouse. A stable. Either way, Mr. Terran would have realized the instant he stepped into the Space Museum, just gotten some horses and galloped after him. That had been switched with Launchpad 1. So my first question is, if the Space Museum was perfectly fine, why did Mr. Terran feel the need to put on such a dramatic display? As for my second question, I'd like Director Cosmos to tell us why he switched the two launch pads to begin with.
Please, I can't. I exercise my right to remain silent. But I will say my hands were tied. I was only doing what I could do to keep my men from getting caught in that blast.
The Director is terrified. He must have one heck of a reason for not wanting to explain why.
Probably not a good time to try pry out of him, huh?
Excuse me. Would you mind if I picked up my stars? Without my badge of rank, I'm nothing. I don't see why not. Bailiff helped the director retrieve his stars. It appears the possibility of a culprit other than the defendant has presented itself. Mr. Starbuck, is there anything you wish to say?
I don't get it.
Don't get it? What don't you get?
Director, why did you do all that? From the very beginning, you never meant for the launch to go ahead, did you? You tricked us! Mr. Starbuck.
Starbuck, my boy, I'm sorry. I can't tell you the reason why. I had to do it to protect the Space Center.
Director! Will I ever get the chance to go into space again?
Yes, of course. I won't rest until it happens. I will get you into space again, my boy.
Oh. Then the dream is still alive.
Silence.
Oh. You're not going into space, Starbuck. But prison. I won't have it any other way. Why are you so hung up on him? Yes, I accept that the launch pads really were switched. And if there were a third person at the scene, I suppose they could have escaped. But I've yet to see proof of this third person's escape via the Space Museum.
Oh, that's a good point.
Oh, he's right, I don't have any proof.
Starbuck, you will spoil everything you know.
What? Me? Ah!
Where did you get those bombs? Tell me now! If you don't, my blade shall feast upon your blood.
Ah! If I'm going to die, I want to die in space! I have to do something.
Solomon Starbuck, prepare yourself.
Oh my god.
Ah! Ha ha ha! Now, you know violence isn't the answer, Prosecutor Blackwheel. That annoyingly cheerful laugh. It can be none other than...
Cue the theme song. Poor Blackwheel. Poor Blackwheel was about to murder an innocent man. Poor Starbuck.
Champion of righteousness, Bobby Fulbright. Here in justice we trust.
Detective Fulbright!
Sorry to keep you waiting, Mr. Lawyer. I hope I'm not too late.
I don't believe we had an appointment.
I tried to hurry, but I ended up helping a little old lady cross the street. And then I had to break up a cat fight. I tell you, justice sure is a full-time job.
Was it a fight between cats, or... Why are you here again?
Because the defendant isn't the culprit, and I came to make sure that justice is served.
I don't have any idea what you're talking about.
Fulbright, I always thought you were a bit touched in the head. But have you finally succumbed?
No, but it looks like you succumbed to the phantom of yours. Open your eyes and let the evidence of justice uncloud your judgment.
What evidence?
Come to think of it, he did say something about finding us some evidence.
Thanks, you two. I feel a lot better now that I've been able to get that off my chest. I'm going to work extra hard to find a perfect piece of evidence for you.
I didn't think he was serious, though. I forgot he even said that. So, what is it, Detective? Is it something that will prove Mr. Starbuck innocent?
It is indeed. Have a look at this. What's this? A lighter? That's right. The lighter thought to have been used by the culprit, no less. Space Museum's cleaning robot picks it up. It has the victim's Clay Terran's blood, along with the killer's fingerprints on it.
What?
Gah!
Please, no more shouting. I can't do it anymore.
Order! Order, Detective Fulbright. Can I assume that the fingerprints don't belong to the defendant? You bet. Mr. Starbuck is totally innocent.
This is it. This is just what I needed. Your Honor, this is decisive evidence that supports the defence's earlier claim.
Explain yourself, Mr. Wright.
With pleasure, Your Honor. Recall where the lighter was found. Based on that, we can extrapolate that after the killer murdered Mr. Terran, they escaped with the lighter in hand into the Space Museum, where they dropped it. Switching of the two launch pads occurred. Then finally, the killer left through Boarding Lounge 2 and made their escape. Meanwhile, Mr. Starbuck was found in Boarding Lounge 1 after the murder, a fact that Director Cosmos has testified to. Therefore, Mr. Starbuck couldn't have possibly been the one to drop the lighter there.
Silence.
But the defendant had free reign of the area until Director Cosmos appeared. Could he not have dropped off the lighter in the Space Museum during that span of time?
Objection!
You'd like that to be true, wouldn't you? Oh my god, I fucked up that line proper. You'd like that to be true, wouldn't you? But Director Cosmos testified that right after he saw the mysterious figure of a lighter, he went into the lounge and found the unconscious Mr. Starbuck. In other words, Mr. Starbuck wouldn't have had the time to double back to the museum. No, Prosecutor Blackpill, this lighter could only have been dropped by the real killer.
Yeah.
Most importantly, Mr. Starbuck's fingerprints were nowhere to be found on this lighter. I think you understand what this means, don't you? This piece of evidence unequivocally... Oh my god, I can't read that word. Unequivocally... This piece of evidence unequivocally proves that Mr. Starbuck wasn't the culprit.
Ah! This does indeed appear to be decisive evidence that proves the defence's claims.
As for the remote switch that was found in Mr. Starbuck's pocket, we can assume it was planted by the killer on the unconscious Mr. Starbuck.
No, there must be some mistake. Frankly, Prosecutor Blackwell, I've been worried about you. You've been chasing this phantom for 7 whole years. I understand your urgency because tomorrow...
Silence.
Fulbright, you promised never to speak of that. Huh? Tomorrow? What about tomorrow? Given a body of evidence... Oh shit, that's not his voice.
Given a body of evidence, I think it's safe to say the defendant is innocent, in light of the fact that it was impossible for him to have committed the crime. A few unanswered questions remain, so I look forward to seeing what you two uncover. But for now, the court finds the defendant, Solomon Starbuck, not guilty.
Pass the Blackpool some tea. He needs tea. I need tea to soothe my throat, my voice in him because he keeps shouting. He's either getting electrocuted or having a heart attack.
Yes, we did it, Mr. Wright.
Looks like we pulled it off somehow, huh? With some help from Detective Fulbright.
Mr. Wright, Miss Sykes, thank you. And please thank Apollo for me, too. You all are the best. Oh, I wish we could tell Apollo about Mr. Starbuck's verdict right now.
Yeah, me too, but that's gonna have to wait. Pass the Psyche Ball some tea too. Thank you!
Now that a verdict has been reached, I'd like to bring today's trial to a close. Court is adjourned.
Whew.
Objection!
Oh. It's not adjourned. Always gotta have the last word. It's too late to object, isn't it? Phoenix, you should know that you object even after the verdict's been dealt and you still win the case. Like, come on.
It simply is impossible. Something's wrong. Prosecutor Blackmore, are you dissatisfied with the verdict?
Obviously.
Fulbright, what were the results of the fingerprint analysis for the lighter? Huh? The results? Ha 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 ha! Ha 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 ha! Well, I was in a hurry, you see. And then there was that cat fight, and well... I kind of got carried away when I heard the prints weren't Mr. Starbuck, so...
He's not wrong that something is wrong. Something definitely is wrong.
You've yet to read it?
Prosecutor Blackmore, can you read out who the prints belong to? Oh no.
Upon thorough analysis, the fingerprints were found to belong to Athena Sykes. So says the report.
What? What?
Huh?
Me? The Jerry Springer Show.
Order, I say, order! Miss Sykes, tell me you have an explanation for this. We just finished proving that this lighter could only belong to the killer. So finding your prints on it can only lead us to one grave conclusion.
I don't know how they got on there, but I know I'm not the culprit. This can't be happening. We built up our argument piece by piece, and I don't think any of our reasoning was faulty. So how could it have led to this?
Ah! What have I done? Please forgive me, I'm sorry. Order! Order! Detective Fulbright, stop your crying.
What in the world is happening here? It's like the world's gone mad.
Order! Order! I will have order!
I guess you won't. Move.
Confusion spiraled into utter chaos. After all we'd fought for, the truth had turned cruelly on us to accuse Athena of the crime. Somewhere, somehow, everything had gone terribly wrong. We'd stumbled over the edge of reason and into the jaws of a twisted darkness. The end.